So, lost media. A piece of media such as film, television, literature, or art has once existed at some point in time, but is no longer available due to it being lost. An interesting topic that the internet has covered time and time again, such as examples as A Day with SpongeBob, Clockman, Crackmaster. But one topic I see hardly covered is Godzilla lost media, which for a franchise of 67 years contains some pieces of media that are now lost. You would think more people will at least cover it. But hey, none of that matters. Let's go into a deep dive into lost media. So take rest, lay down, and let's explore as we cover the lost media of Godzilla. Lost Godzillian Cow Scene. The first piece of Godzilla lost media is from, well, no other than the first Godzilla movie. The scene could be considered the Godzilla equivalent of the lost spider pit sequence from the original King Kong that was destroyed for being too scary, which later had Peter Jackson recreated with the same techniques years later, excluding the fan dedication. The now famous Godzillian cow scene, for which we know a lot about. The scene was going to be the first reveal of Godzilla, which had him eating a cow as he rises from the hill, and things would have played out the same as they did in the original movie. It's honestly very interesting to see an alternative perspective of an old movie and how things could have been despite it being long lost. So why was this scene cut? The reason was because the filmmakers thought the inclusion of a cow with him would draw up questions about Godzilla's size, like, is that cow really big or is Godzilla really just small? And more it would mess up the scaling of Godzilla, as they wanted him to consistently feel huge throughout the film. And him eating another creature would have probably given away the mysticism and horror of Godzilla. So they did away with it and replaced him with the now iconic scene of Godzilla rising from hell and roaring at the sky as the villagers run away. The chances of this scene ever being found are non-existent, since it's been nearly seven decades since this movie was released, and besides, deleted scenes were archived during the early to mid years of filmmaking in the 20th century. The only things left are storyboards and a photo shoot of a scene, which is just one point filming existed somewhere. However, as of now, the scene is likely gone for good. Filipino re-edit of Godzilla. Speaking of the original film, the US wasn't the only country that did the original film and replaced it with actors of its nationality. The Philippines at one point did it, and it was called Tokyo 1960. Released in 1957, not much is known about the film aside from a poster that details some of the cast and crew, and the quality is quite low as film preservation in the Philippines is difficult as the humid weather makes film real sustainable to being flammable, as only a few movies from that time are still available. The Volcano Monsters. After the success of the American edit of the original Godzilla, its sequel, Godzilla Raids Again or Godzilla's Counterattack, as it was known in Japan at the time, was also set to be released into America by a group of producers. After they acquired the distribution rights and not being satisfied with the film's initial plot, the producers hired screenwriters to write a draft for a completely different movie, rolling over the movie's action set pieces as possible, and it was known as The Volcano Monsters, which focused on scientists uncovering two dinosaurs inside a volcano and chaos ensuing. ABPT Pictures Corp was brought on to produce the film and even got surprising help from Toho as they commissioned and shipped two suits for Godzilla and Anguirus, whom both would have been called a Tyrannosaur and an Ankylosaurus. Just before filming began, ABP2 unexpectedly ended operations and the rights were later given to Warner Bros., later resulting in Gigantus the Fire Monster. It is unknown when production ended, but all we know is that no footage was filmed and the two monster suits' whereabouts are unknown. Lost dub of King Kong vs. Godzilla. In 1963, Toho advertised an English dub of King Kong vs. Godzilla in their international sales booklet. This isn't the English dub that was made for the US, as the booklet also advertised an English dub of Astrogon, which had a proper dub of the movie's original format, unlike its Godzilla/Kong counterpart. Suggesting that King Kong vs. Godzilla may have at one point received this treatment. The only other thing to somewhat confirm its existence is Toho's international trailer for King Kong vs. Godzilla. However, it is unknown whether or not this dub was simply made for the trailer or was taken from a full English dub of the original movie. Extended Son of Godzilla ending scene. Son of Godzilla is one of the more child-orientated Godzilla movies, with the film introducing Godzilla's first son, Manila, covering him and Godzilla's lives on an island occupied by scientists experimenting on the water along with mutated arthropods along the way. After the film's climax, where the two monsters defeat Kumaga and attempt to leave the island when the weather's cruise device causes the island to freeze, wherein the finalized cut, the baby Godzilla lags behind, falls onto the snow, and his father returns as the two hibernate. Originally, Godzilla was very close to abandoning Manila, as a storyboard and a scrap scene showed him almost reaching the edge of the island. Of course, just like in the released movie, Godzilla eventually goes back to the infant. While the scene never made it into the finished product, it was, however, partially survived in the movie's trailer and the work print outtake reel. Alternative Godzilla vs. Adora chase footage. Godzilla vs. Adora is known as being one of the most experimental and bizarre Godzilla movies, especially for featuring the infamous Godzilla flying scene where the king of the monsters uses his atomic breath to propel himself onto the sky and chase after the smog monster to ensure its defeat. What's shocking the most is that director Yoshimitsu Banno revealed in the interview that he and the crew filmed alternative footage of Godzilla just running and grabbing Hedorah in case producer Tomoyuki Tanaka, who was old at the time, disapproved of the inclusion of Godzilla flying. However, Toho executive Kazuo Baba, who was looking after Tanaka at the time, liked it and agreed to include it. Banno and his crew were the only ones to view the footage, and he will later speculate the footage was never preserved, likely left behind during the cut room floor to be forgotten. Godzilla vs. Gamera live show. Gamera is another famous and beloved kaiju that was made by Daiei Films, now known as Kadokawa Daiei Studio, with the monster in its first film intended to rival Toho's Godzilla, becoming just as a prevalent icon in Japanese pop culture as his Toho counterpart. Fans have been clamoring for a matchup between these two monsters for years, but the thing is that this already happened. In March of 1970, both Toho and Daiei made a one-act stage show at the Expo Cecil Plaza venue during the Children's Festival and Osaka World's Fair, performed every night for 10 days. The show starred Godzilla, Manila, Gorosaurus, Gamera, Space Gyos, and Giger, with the only thing known about the plot being that all 6 monsters were engaged in a titanic battle. Few recordings of the event still exist to today, along with a magazine about the show. The only people credited are Kon Omurara, who moderated the event, and Godzilla suit actor Haruo Nakajima, who was insanely booked to play the role 3 times a day, but complications prevented that. Additionally, in 2002, Daiei offered Toho to co-produce a movie about the two monsters fighting, but Toho declined, with Toho making the remaining Millennium movies and Daiei making Gamera the Brave in 2006 for Gamera's 40th anniversary. Chibikos Special. Chibikos Special was a Japanese stage show which aired on Tokyo Channel from October 24th, 1971 to September 24th, 1972. The show featured guest appearances of a variety of Toho monsters, including Godzilla. The show also had a mascot called Terra Incognita and featured suits of monsters who appear on Go Godman, and had a pre-Mecha Godzilla character called Mechanic Godzilla, whom a follower of the show, Eiichiro Kato, drew a picture somehow resembling Space Godzilla. How did a lost television show someone predict 2 Godzilla doppelgangers? The world would never know. The only people credited are Jiro Shirazaki and Nobuyuki Yasumura, who played themselves as judges with no information on the people who produced the show. Godzilla vs. the Wolfman. Godzilla vs. the Wolfman is an interesting dilemma, as it's technically not even an official Toho product, rather a fan-made film, thus making it one of the earliest fan films. The people involved in the project were Mirai Shizuo, Nakajima, and other former employees from Toho. The project originally began life from several older short drafts and films that are also lost, with one of them having the Mosho Goshi suit replica and the Wolfman appearing more like a mummy with the head of a gargantua. Another short film dubbed Wolfman vs. Baragon features Baragon in it. By 1983, Operation shifted to turn these shorts into a cohesive narrative and film at a feature length, having a replica of the King's Goji suit and a different Wolfman design, which, fun fact, these suits were sculpted by Fuyuki Hinata, who would later work on official Godzilla films like GMK. From what little footage was released, the plot follows a man who turns into a werewolf, appearing in Japan, mutating into kaiju form, and where he and Godzilla battled it out in the countryside. For a while in the US, information on it was non-existent, but some believe it to not be real until 2012, with someone by the name of Mark Haramilo contacting Nakajima and revealing brief behind-the-scenes and footage at G-Fest. Nakajima himself would later travel to the US for G-Fest the next year and revealed even more footage, where he has since kept revealing more, with him saying there were around 10 hours of unedited footage. While fans have clamored for a home media release for years, chances of it happening are quite slim, as rumors of a DVD release in the summer of 2020 have since been passed, and given Toho's history with fan projects, it's quite unlikely we'll ever see Nakajima's full vision for his project. Unreleased Heisei shows. From 1992 to 2000, Toho made 3 Godzilla shows, with the first one, Adventure, Godzilla Online, made a promotion for Godzilla vs. Mothra and Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2, with 26 episodes, while Soul's writing episode of these. The second show, Godzilla Kingdom, features scientists with a robot Godzilla analyzing the abilities of various kaiju, with 255-minute episodes from 1996 to 1997. So, kaiju profile before Wikizilla existed. The third show, Godzilla TV, covered film locations throughout the Godzilla series up to the then upcoming Godzilla 2000. None of these shows have yet to be released in home media. Lost English dub of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. In the second installment of Lost Godzilla dubs, we encounter Omni Productions, a Hong Kong-based dubbing production that was responsible for making a few dubs of the Heisei Godzilla movies. One in particular is a long-lost dub of Godzilla vs. Mechagodzilla 2. Apparently, for an unknown reason, the entire movie was redubbed around the spring of 1998, with a single line surviving the Hindi dub that was heard years later by a fellow fan, Space Hunter M, in 2014. General Hello Kitty clip. In 1994, Toho made a short film called Monster Planet of Godzilla that was directed by Koichi Kawakita for Sanaria Pura Land and the Harmony Land theme parks, only being included in very expensive DVD releases later on. The strangest thing was that they cut all footage of Sanaria's character, no other than Hello Kitty. Yes, Hello Kitty played a role in the piece of a Godzilla media. Lost media, matter of fact. And apparently the general no less. Huh, look at that. It could be possible they cut those scenes to avoid copyright disputes, though Toho and Sanaria still did crossovers over the years, so what's the hiccup? An unreleased American edition of Godzilla Great Monster Battle. In 1994, a 2D Godzilla fighter game by the name of Godzilla Great Monster Battle, developed by Alpha System and published by Toho for the Super Famicom, was released, being a sequel to Godzilla Battle Legends. An American version of the game called Godzilla Destroy All Monsters, our original, was planned to be released and was quite close in fact. An issue of Nintendo Power in 1995 apparently had a review of the game, implying someone got a copy of the game, but a release of it was cancelled for unknown reason. The 1998 Godzilla PC game. In promotion of the 98 Godzilla movie, a multiplayer PC game called Godzilla Online was made. Developed by Mythic Entertainment, the game had 4 factions that players can play: Baby Godzillas, soldiers, scientists, and reporters. Since it is an early computer game, it's quite hard to find a playable version of this game today. Godzilla and the Lost Continent. Something younger Godzilla fans may not know is that during the late 90s, there was a series of young adult Godzilla novels from 1996 to 1998 published by Random House and written by Mark Saraceni. There were 4 books in total: Godzilla Returns, Godzilla 2000, not to be confused with the movie, Godzilla World's End, and Godzilla vs. the Robot Monsters. The thing with this book was that it was intended to continue with a 5th book called Godzilla and the Lost Continent. The plot was centered on a giant landmass hurling itself from the Pacific Ocean, where countries all over the world were investigating and discovered the ruins of an ancient civilization with a small Soviet population. Varen, Manda, and Bacho have come along and tried to claim the land as their new home, getting into conflict with several countries' military forces. The fighting would have stopped when a new monster called Daijin would have gotten involved, making 3 monsters fleet and destroying any military forces. It would later be revealed that Daijin was only an accomplice to a greater threat, being the Earth itself, as it was the one that awakened the Lost Continent and would have taken the avatar form of Biollante and wreaked havoc. This leaves Godzilla to be the only hope left to defeat both monsters. Mark Saraceno later on saying that he finished the book and was ready to release it, but it was then quickly cancelled. The reason why the book was cancelled was because of it being unfortunate time in the wake of the 1998 Godzilla film and its underwhelming reception, with bookstores not accepting them all after being crowded with the merchandise in the 1998 film, with them saying they couldn't understand the difference, so the publishers decided to cancel it. By the time stores were mostly empty from Godzilla merchandise, it was already too late and Random House's rights to the characters expired and reverted back to Toho. The only available form of Godzilla in the Lost Continent is a 12-page preview from Godzilla vs. the Robot Monsters. As for now, it appears Toho doesn't have any interest in releasing the full book, making Godzilla in the Lost Continent ironically lost. Omni Productions dub of Godzilla 2000. In another instance of a lost English dub, we meet again with our old friends of Omni Productions, which the company also made a dub for Godzilla 2000 with two different ones, one released in theaters and an unreleased one. The apparent reason why this dub was never released was according to Sony executive Mike Schlesinger, who said the dub was so bad that it would be embarrassing to use, so he opted to redub the entire movie again, with only one line surviving. I suppose it's an example of an intentional piece of lost media, so bad it would dawn the end of days. Godzilla Monster Mayhem. Godzilla Monster Mayhem was a fighting game developed by India Games and released on September 19, 2009 on iOS devices. From what people have said in surviving footage, the game featured Godzilla and King Ghidorah on the roster despite an all-star cast listed to copyright. The game was also negatively criticized, being poorly put together and was never updated, and ultimately left to be removed from the App Store years ago, to the point no one can find a copy of it anywhere. Akira Takarada cutscene from Godzilla 2014. Not even the modern age can be saved from having lost media. For example, Akira Takarada, who played Hideo Ogata from the original Godzilla movie, was going to make a cameo in Godzilla 2014 and flew for Vancouver for the first day of shooting as a Japanese immigration official who stamps for Brody's passport, creating a metaphorical passing of the torch between the two protagonists. The reason why a potential legendary scene was cut because director Gareth Everts got a lot of demand from test audiences to get to the monster action quickly, and opted to remove the scene, go on to say, "Probably my greatest regret." Producer Thomas Toll went on to say in an interview on Tohokion that the cutscene would be included in the film's home media releases, but no copies have turned up with the scene and its whereabouts are unknown. Godzilla 2014 tie-in games. In promotion for Legendary's Godzilla, several tie-in games were in its wake. Not consoles, by the way. The first of these was a browser game by the name of Godzilla Crisis Defense. It has a similar gameplay mechanic to the 98 Godzilla game with 4 factions. The second game that was made for mobile was Godzilla Strike Zone. The most unique aspect of this game was its gameplay, being a survival shooter that sees the player in the 3D world of the final battle from Godzilla 2014. Another mobile game called Godzilla Smash 3 by Pikeworks no less was also released, being a Candy Crush style of game of Godzilla fighting the military and the Mutos, being their only appearance in a video game yet. Since all these were tie-in games for a single movie for a year, you would expect them to be quickly removed. Surprisingly, Godzilla Smash 3 and Godzilla Strike Zone were still available on the App Store up until 2017, which is strange for that because, wow. San Diego Comic-Con announcements. When creating promotions for their new Monster Universe, Legendary opted to make exclusive footage at Comic-Con San Diego. Few things were leaked from a move piece of Godzilla. Another thing of note is the announcement that set up the appearances of Ghidorah, Mothra, and Rodan in the Monsterverse narrated by JFK. No footage has yet to rise, leaving a big event of Godzilla history to be lost. Unrecorded Shin Godzilla ride footage. After the release of Shin Godzilla, several pieces of entertainment were made to profit from it. One of these being a ride called Godzilla, the Real 4D at Universal Studios Japan. Despite being an impressive ride, no footage of it has been released, with only audio recordings being available, leaving us to wonder how the ride could even be like. Shin Godzilla game. In addition to the 1980 Godzilla and 2014 games, Shin Godzilla also had a tie-in game, but not in the way you think. The game was a free-to-play online game that was a collaboration between Shin Godzilla and RMA Kine, a flat horse game. Yeah, a horse game. Godzilla. The game consists of a player running a race to collect items to feed Godzilla, with him chasing you, and with a training mode to improve your horse. The The game was released in December of 2016 and was quickly taken down, with its page on the Army Kanye website being replaced by a thank you page. Godzilla, King of the Monsters extended scenes. The most recent piece of Godzilla Lost Media comes from Screen Next screening of Godzilla King of the Monsters. Screen Next is the world's first multi-projection theater technology that provides moviegoers with a 2,000-degree panoramic viewing experience by expanding the screen onto the side walls of the auditorium, where the software blends multiple images into one seamless image extending from the center out. Godzilla King of the Monsters has been screened in one of these, but why is it included in the Lost Media section? Well, the ScreenX version of King of Monsters had an additional 15 minutes of panoramic footage, but since there's no way to release this type of screening on home media, there's no possible way to see this footage aside if you saw the screen of it back when King of the Monsters was released, thus making it being a box office disappointment, thus making it one of the latest editions of Godzilla Lost Media, and potentially more to come. So, there you go. I have listed every piece of Lost Media I can count, ranging from the movies, television, games, and even a book. Sometimes I wonder why Godzilla isn't covered more in the Lost Media scene, or the Lost Media scene in America at least, since I think there's a lot of interesting stuff left on in the discussion. So I hope you had fun exploring, and watch out for media in the future, and take care.